Everybody, peace. Welcome to the STBY show, wherever or however you're listening. We're so grateful to have you with us. As you guys know, I'm Sean Cottle, and today's show, guys, is going to be a little bit different from what we normally do. I know on Thursdays we normally do coverage and news analysts on different topics going on in today's world, but today I want to take some time to talk about and reflect upon my time playing in Montenegro and my championship season there in Montenegro. I know that I've had quite a few of you guys reach out to me and ask for more information and to share my experiences while in Montenegro. I know we did a podcast episode on my experience in Montenegro right after we won a championship last year. So I just wanted to circle back to that and just provide more detail on what my experience was like playing in Montenegro, winning a championship in Montenegro, and what those experiences taught me about life overall. So we're not going to waste any time, guys. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. Like I said, guys, for most of you guys know that during my fourth season playing basketball professionally, I played in Montenegro for KK Susanj in the Prov B division, which is the second division in Montenegro. And the entire experience overall was very beautiful, and it was a very nuanced experience, if I might say. And something that this experience taught me was a plethora of things, man. And to provide context, so the previous season, during the 2022-2023 season, I was playing in Luxembourg, and I was third in my league in scoring, and I was a primary ball handler and primary scoring option. And coming off that season, I managed to get a number of offers from teams and clubs, but what ended up happening was I ended up missing the first 4 months of the 2023-2024 season. And during that time, I was working as a personal trainer, and I was doing work here, sorry to bother you, for the media company, as well as still training, working out 3 times a day. And I had reached a point in my life, or in my mode of thinking, that where I was content, I was perfectly accepting of me transitioning to the next phase of my life and no longer playing basketball. There's this old saying that athletes die twice. You die once in your athletic career, and then you die the second time in the physical. And I was perfectly accepting in that moment of transitioning to the next phase of my life. I told myself, okay, if I don't play at all this season, then I'm just going to transition to the next phase and end my playing career. And it's in those moments when you have acceptance and contentment, and you allow peace to come into your spirit, that's when the Most High really starts to bless you, and He starts to put you in doorways and opportunities that you would have never thought possible. And so it was in that exact moment when I was truly accepting of whatever was to come, whether I do play this season or not. Whatever comes from it is what comes from it, and is in acceptance when I received the offer. And so I signed with the team KK Susanj in January, and I go into the team, and I'm going into a championship level pedigree of an organization, a team that has championship aspirations and that's currently first in the league. And I was informed by the general manager. They said that they don't need me to do what I did in Luxembourg. They just need me to be a facilitator, more of a traditional point guard, get guys involved, get them in their spots, and to transition from being a primary scorer to a primary facilitator, to go from getting 20 shots a game to now getting 5 or 6, it's a stark polarity, and it can be a very difficult transition. But as a professional, you have to be willing and able to do those things, and you have to be willing to make that transition. And so another thing that experience in Montenegro taught me is that you have to be willing to make sacrifices in order to achieve the things that you want to get to achieve the things that you want in life. And you have to be willing to take away part of yourself for the betterment of an organization, for the betterment of other people at times. What are you willing to give up in order to become what you're meant to be? And there's quite a few players, quite a few people that aren't willing to humble themselves in order to get to that next phase and in order to get to that next elevation. And a lot of people say that they're willing to do it in order to win a championship, but you don't know how difficult it is until you're put in that moment, until you're put in that situation where you say, okay, you can't get 20 shots a game, you only can get 5 or 6. It can bruise the ego if you're not careful. And so I had to understand that as soon as I got there, that I had to be willing to put my desires to the side in order to benefit this club, this team, this organization. This team isn't being built around me. I have to fit into the piece. I'm a piece of the puzzle, but I'm not the whole puzzle. I'm just a piece of it. And that willingness to sacrifice is so key in life. And you're sacrificing yourself because it allows you to grow. And in that moment, you feel like you're being attacked on your skill level. I feel like I was being attacked by my skill level. I feel like it was, the coach was saying that I wasn't good enough. But I want to give a quick shout out to Coach Page, one of the best coaches I've ever had. From him yelling at me during practice and giving me a short leash in the games. I feel like my character was being attacked. But what you understand is that when you are trying to achieve a certain level of success and you're trying to achieve something that is very sacred, like winning a championship, there's a heightened level of accountability that comes with each decision that you make. And each decision that you make and each action that you choose to do is that much more important. And you have to be really intentional with those decisions and those actions. And that's what I had to accept, is that, listen, we can't afford to make mistakes. And so you learn throughout life that the more responsibility that you have, the more intentional you have to be with each decision that you make. And so with us being chasing the championship, as a team, organization, we have to be much more intentional with each decision that we make and each action we choose to do, whether it be giving guys a certain amount of playing time or doing things a certain way. Everything has to be very meticulous. And everything has to be for the greater good, not for the greater desires of each individual player. And that understanding of knowing that each decision has a heightened sense of a weighted outcome to it, then it makes you much more intentional with each decision that you make, and that level of responsibility can help you develop. And in those moments of stress and pressure, and you mentally you feel anguish because you're not getting the playing time that you want, and you're not, things you feel like aren't going your way. It's almost like the purification by fire concept. Like when you're in the fire, it feels daunting and it feels meticulous, and you can feel the heat under your skin, and it feels like you're like it's going to last forever, and it feels like the pain is insurmountable. But when you get out of the fire and you come on the other side, you're a new person. It's almost like a regeneration, a rebirth, if you will. And it's in that moment when you realize that everything that happens is for your betterment, right? So in life, you understand that when it comes to experiences, there are no good or bad experiences. They're just experiences. And if everything comes from the Most High, then, and the Most High Spirit is good, then everything that comes to you must be good, for your betterment or however it may be. You either learn from the situation, or you reach a certain status of life or elevation in life where you grow spiritually, mentally, physically. But everything works for your betterment if you understand that everything comes from the Most High. And having that understanding, was truly a blessing in that moment when I was in Montenegro. And when you're in that moment of being on the path and you're going through a heightened sense of adversity, if you will, and you realize that as we go along this path, the people that we meet are are there to help better us and to help be our support system. Everyone that comes into your life, whether it be for 30 years, for 2 months, or for 2 hours, everyone that comes into your life has a purpose. There's a reason for everyone that comes into your life. And oftentimes we think about, okay, how's this person being a benefit, being a blessing to us, or what are they teaching us? But sometimes and oftentimes it's be, okay, it is, how can I serve this person? How can I help this person? How can I be a blessing to this person? Or what can I teach this person? And you learn to start to think outwardly instead of inwardly. And going through this championship run, you learn that even when you're going through moments of adversity, you have the support system here. And just as they lean on you, you lean on them. And so, I'm going to give a quick shout out to my teammate, Jonathan Bryant. He was the other American that was on our team in Montenegro. And, going through, there's an old cliche that when you go through trauma together, you develop a tight bond, like trauma bonding. Not to say trauma, not to call this experience trauma, but when you go through adversity, you develop a tight bond with people. And me and John were both so-called black men playing in Montenegro, and both were part of the team, and we saw the ins and outs of what was going on, and so we shared that experience. And there's also a sense of responsibility, because you realize that, okay, I have people counting on me to do the right thing and to handle the situation correctly. And it also adds a heightened sense of responsibility. And something that my dad taught me is that as a man, each decision that you make is no longer just dependent on you, but it also affects your family and your kids and your wife. So each decision that you make is that much more important. And when you have people that are counting on you, it makes you more intentional with every action that you make. And so when I realized that, I had people counting on me, my teammates, the coaching staff, the organization, and even John, it made me realize, okay, I'm not going through this alone, and that there's people that also are counting on me, so I have to stick through it. But you learn to lean on each other, you learn on to count on each other, and once you accept that you can't do it alone, no success has ever been done in a singularity by one person. It's always been a group effort. It's always been a village, a communal aspect to it. It takes the pressure off. You realize you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to be Superman in this moment. And also in these moments of when you're on this path and you're going to achieve greatness and you're trying to go through whatever it takes to get to where you need to be, you feel like there's moments of isolation. But in that moment of isolation, you really get to experience the Most High. So, there were countless times when we'd be in Montenegro and, a game would finish, or we'd go to practice and I would go to the beach. And for those you don't know, Bar, the city we played in Montenegro, has some of the most beautiful sunsets in the world. And so sitting on the beach and being by the sunset, you kind of get a sense of understanding of just how vast and beautiful the Most High is, because you think to yourself, for this sunset to be so beautiful and for me to be so focused on just playing basketball, how much is there in the world? How much does this world truly have to offer? And then you realize that what I'm experiencing, what I'm going through, is truly insurmountable. Not insurmountable, but it's nothing compared to what everything that the Most High has done and has created. So it's almost a sense of comfort in knowing that, okay, if the Most High created something as beautiful as these sunsets and this beach, then surely whatever He has created for me in my career or in life must be as beautiful. And there's a sense of peace in knowing that. And when you have that understanding, you're able to be more free-flowing, and you're able to be more relaxed as you go about these moments in life. And understanding that you have people counting on you, you have your teammates and your coaching staff and your organization counting on you, and there's a sense of pressure to it, but also like I said, there's comfort in knowing that they're leaning on you just like you're leaning on them, and it's a total team and group communal effort. And as you winning the championship and holding the championship trophy, and when the ceremony's over and when I'm walking off the court, the first thought I had to myself, okay, what's next? All right, we're gonna run it back. Let's do this. Let's do it again. And in that moment, you start to realize that everything is temporary, and you can't put what you do on a pedestal. You can't idolize anything in the physical, in the flesh, right? And that's something I wish I would have learned when I was younger. But you have appreciation and admiration, and you put the necessary effort into your craft to be successful and to maximize your potential, but you never give it more time than the Most High. And having that understanding, it gives you a much more deeper sense of appreciation, right, for what you're doing. And the Most High gives us these things, and sometimes He knows that we're going to fall short in the sense, okay, we might put this thing on a pedestal, but the patience that and love that the Most High has for us to know that and still love us and care for us, it's a beautiful thing. And then sometimes you think to yourself, who am I to be so deserving of such a blessing like this? And that humility is very important for us in life. And everything is so temporary, but it makes you more appreciative. But you can't put it on a pedestal. You can't. I'm blessed to play professional basketball. I'm not a professional basketball player. I'm just someone who plays basketball professionally, because there's so much more than your job titles and your accolades. You appreciate your accolades and your job title, but you don't find validation in it. It's just something that you do. And that's something I wished I would have learned when I was younger. And when you're holding that championship trophy, like I use this picture right here with my dad, because you guys already know, but my dad's been such an integral part of my maturation process, not just as a basketball player, but as a man. He's always been there for me throughout my life, and he's helped teach me things that I've been blessed to have knowledge about, and he's helped me develop into the man I am today. And I'll never forget in this moment right here in this picture, and I'm holding the championship trophy, and I wanted him to hold the trophy too. And I was telling him, Dad, hold the trophy, come on, hold it with me, let's take the picture. And he said, no, son, this is your moment right here. I don't want to hold it. This is for you. And in that moment, all I could do was reflect on all the hours and time that my dad poured into me to not just make me a better basketball player, but to make me a better man. And it made me realize that he wasn't doing those things for his credibility, for him, but he was doing it for me entirely. And it made me realize that our success is not about our success. It's about how we can be of service and how we can help others strive and thrive and get to where they need to be. And when you do it with sincerity and with humility, it's something that's so beautiful and that can't be replicated. And it made me realize that no matter how much success I have, I want to be able to double that for other people and pour double of what people poured into me. I want to pour that into others. And I was blessed for my dad to be able to to teach me that, because I don't know many people that will be able that would have said that or done that. And something interesting also that my dad taught me is that we talk about having a vision on your path and being intentional, but you also have to have a purpose. And my dad told me that as a man, when you wake up, and every day you wake up, you have to wake up with a purpose, whether it be to just make up your bed, or whether it be to just put clothes on. But every day you have to wake up with a purpose, because when you don't have purpose, you don't have a vision for how you want your day to go or how you want your life to go. And when you don't have that vision, then you start to make decisions that can put you in precarious or difficult situations or bad situations. And that's when we start to go down the wrong path. So it's so important for us to wake up with a purpose so we can make the right decisions, and so we can have a sense of accountability and responsibility as we move about in life as men. And it's something beautiful about being able to experience a certain level of success. And what you realize and what you understand is that when you have success, it's actually much more lonely than people think. And you have the success, and there's so many people that come to you. So we win this championship, and everyone wants to come and interview us and take pictures, and then we have the parade, and then we're on TV, we're on the news, and it's really exciting, and there's a lot of people coming to you for the next 2 or 3 days. But then after that, it becomes silent, and things start to kind of go back to a certain level of normalcy. So after we won the championship in Montenegro, I stayed for about an extra week. And like I said, the first 2 or 3 days after winning the championship, it was really exhilarating. There's a lot of people reaching out to you and calling you, texting you, and obviously seeing you on TV, like I said, doing the interviews and the parade itself. And you feel like, man, there's a lot of people. But then people are only there in that moment, aside from your support system. But people come in, but it's always much more lonely after success. But that's the price of being successful, is that you have that sense of loneliness. But because you've already experienced isolation through your maturation process, you can handle it. You're already equipped to handle it. And I'll never forget having those quiet moments for those 2 days after winning the championship and after doing the parades and everything. I was able to still just sit by the beach side and watch the sunset. And it made me realize that even in those moments of isolation, it's still beautiful in knowing that I can experience this. I can have these moments of stillness and still be grounded. And it's good to have those moments and to accept that with success comes a level of loneliness that it's a blessing to have. And we can't look at some of these things as burdens, but rather, like I said, as blessings that we get to have and that we get to experience. And as we go about in this life, we understand that there's so much more than what we do, than our job titles. There's so much more than than our careers. We're so much more than that. And one of the other important things that I learned from this experience is that the likelihood of me signing with the club midway through the season as an undersized guard, as a scoring guard in Montenegro, where that's the type of play is not really conducive for success, to sign with the team and be a part of a championship program and organization, it's just so unlikely. It's just so unlikely because, when I'm going through talking to these teams and I hear all these teams saying that, okay, we don't have the budget to sign you, or we want to go in a different direction, or we want to sign a big man. And so you think to yourself, okay, all right, God, is it what, you feel like the Most High isn't answering your prayers. But what's happening is that, delayed doesn't mean deferred. And so, from June of 2023 up until January of 2024, you're getting all these rejections, or what you think are rejections. And I'm getting all these, unanswered calls and teams not responding. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing everything the right way. I'm working out 3 times a day. I'm networking with coaches and GMs. I have an agent also. And oftentimes we can't even grasp the scope and gravitas of what the Most High is doing, because his ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. And he the Most High transcends space and time, and he's omnipresent. And because he's created these moral concepts such as good and bad, he's not bounded by those moral constructs, because he's above those things, because he created them. And so we can't even really grasp entirely his essence. And you think to yourself, I was thinking to myself, okay, man, I don't know what's going to happen, but I have to accept whatever happens. What comes from it. And so we think that the Most High is denying us, but really he's creating the perfect moment, the opportunity for us. And I think to myself, who am I to be blessed to be able to join a team midway through the season and help them win a championship? The Most High was creating the opportunity for me and putting me in a situation where I needed to be and where he needed me to be. I mean, when you reflect and think about it from that perspective, it's just beautiful, because there's no other way that could happen except for the Most High. And it just makes you understand and realize just how beautiful life can be when when you're content, but also when you allow the Most High to orchestrate your path and your steps. And um, it's just it's beautiful, to say the least. And delayed does not mean deferred. And I know that's a cliche, but when you experience it, you realize how true it is. I'm blessed. I'm grateful to get all those rejection letters, rejection emails, and those teams pass up on me, because I was able to experience something that very few people get to experience uh, at any point in the career, let alone in the professional career. So, I wouldn't trade that in for anything. But life is something beautiful and something that's meant to be experienced with other people, and success, particularly, is meant to be shared with our support system and our loved ones. And that's also why I use this picture right here. And I'm blessed to have this platform. I'm blessed to do what I love for a living. But I know there's so much more to life than this. So I appreciate this. I'll be sincere with this. And I'll continue to move about in life just like we all will, accepting whatever comes from it and controlling what we can control. And that's all we can do in life. And I'm so grateful for you guys. Thank you for listening and just coming along this journey with me. But yeah, guys, that being said, that's it for our show. I'll definitely take more time out to do shows like this, segments like this, where I talk about in detail more of my experience, whether it be playing in Germany or playing in Luxembourg or in Mexico or even in England as well. I'll be willing to share those stories with you guys. I know how much it means for us to share our experience with each other, because what you realize as you go about in life, as you get a little older, you realize that we all have the same shared experiences. We're all much more alike than what we realize. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. That's it for our show for today. We'll be back again, guys, same time tomorrow on Thursday with another show. But until then, guys, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and